Barbara Kellerman, a leadership expert at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, dissects America's apology culture and offers rules of thumb for leaders about when and how to go public with their contrition. Kellerman is famous for taking an unglossy and unromantic view of leadership. Her last HBR article was called Leadership, Warts and All. In her new piece, she'll make you appreciate the remarkable power of a well-timed and well-executed public apology.
When we wrong someone we know, even unintentionally, we are generally expected to apologize. The person we hurt feels entitled to an admission of error and an expression of regret. We, in turn, try to ameliorate the situation by saying, "I'm sorry," and perhaps making restitution. But when we're acting as leaders, the circumstances are different. Leaders are responsible not only for their own behavior, but also for that of their followers, who might number in the hundreds, thousands, or even millions. The first question, then, is, who exactly is the guilty party? The degree of damage is an issue as well. When a leader feels obliged to apologize, especially for a trespass in which followers were involved, the harm inflicted was likely serious, widespread, and enduring. Since leaders speak for as well as to their followers, their apologies have broad implications. The act of apology is carried out not merely at the level of the individual, but also at the level of the institution. It is not only personal, but also political. It is a performance in which every expression matters and every word becomes part of the public record. For leaders to apologize publicly is therefore a high-stakes move. For themselves, for their followers, and for the organizations they represent, refusal to apologize can be smart or it can be suicidal. Conversely, readiness to apologize can be seen as a sign of strong character or as a sign of weakness. A successful apology can turn enmity into personal and organizational triumph, while an apology that is too little, too late, or too transparently tactical can bring on individual and institutional ruin. What, then, is to be done? How can leaders decide if and when to apologize publicly? Why now? The question of whether leaders should apologize publicly has never been more urgent. During the last decade or so, the United States in particular has developed an apology culture. Apologies of all kinds and for all sorts of transgressions are extended far more frequently than before. In his book, On Apology, Aaron Lazar offers ample evidence that the number of apologies is on the rise, also pointing out that they have become grist for our collective mill. Newspaper columnists covering the national and international scene have written about the growing importance of public apologies, while articles, cartoons, advice columns, and radio and television programs have similarly addressed the subject of private apologies. Members of various professions hardly known in the past as exemplars of humility have begun to discuss what role apology plays in their professional practice. Many physicians, for instance, now at least consider apologizing to a patient for a medical mistake. And within the medical profession generally, there is discussion about when an apology is in order. In addition, new laws have made it significantly easier for medical providers to apologize to their patients. In 2003, Colorado enacted a law stating that an apology extended by a healthcare provider would, in any civil action, be inadmissible as evidence of an admission of liability. Several other states deem expressions of sympathy inadmissible in court, though for them, full apologies are another matter. While in the past, fear of a malpractice suit nearly always precluded healthcare providers from admitting a mistake, University of Florida law professor Jonathan R. Cohen observes in Toward Candor After Medical Error from Harvard Health Policy Review, spring 2004, it is precisely that silence, that failure to admit a mistake and apologize for it, that can prompt a lawsuit. The rise in the number of leaders publicly apologizing has been especially remarkable. Apologies are a tactic leaders now frequently use in an attempt to put behind them, at minimal cost, the errors of their ways. So many corporate executives expressed regret for one or another offense in the summer of 2000 that some business writers called it the summer of apologies. The transgressions for which leaders begged pardon included unreliable flights, bad phone service, and tire blowouts. Since then, the pattern has continued. The CEO of healthcare IT company Cerner insulted his management team in an email. When the company's stock took a dive, he apologized for the email he'd sent. Etienne Rachu, head of Air France's European and North African operations, apologized to an Israeli businessman after an Air France pilot referred to the Tel Aviv destination as Israel-Palestine. John Chambers, CEO of Cisco Systems, asked service providers for their forgiveness because the company hadn't made their needs enough of a priority. Sometimes leaders even apologize for sins to which they personally have no connection. On a state visit to Poland in 1970, German Chancellor Willy Brandt extended a wordless apology for crimes committed 3 decades earlier by the Nazis against Polish Jews. Apparently filled with emotion, Brandt dropped to his knees as he approached a Warsaw War memorial. In 1995, Helge Wehmeyer, then president and CEO of Bayer, similarly expressed his deepest regret on behalf of Bayer's original parent.